so towards the end, I was missing my children. I wasn't around them.
Did you not have custody of them?
So I did not.
Okay.
I did not. I had, during my methadone season, I decided that I wanted to leave my ex-husband and go off on my own. And I did. And I left them with him. And, in my brain, it felt like a better idea. He ended up getting involved with children's services, and I couldn't get clean at the time. So, I couldn't even give them a dirty urine. So I just kind of gave up. And I remember the day, it was the last day of court that you could show up and actually do something. And I remember laying in that bed that day and just like surrendering to the life I had chose or thought that I had chose, and coming into agreement with thinking I was going to be capable of bearing that pain in my heart of the decision I had made that day in the bed. So they actually stayed with my in-laws, who I actually have a very beautiful relationship with now. But so no, I didn't have. So towards the end, that was one of the things that kept me getting high. Was every time I stopped getting high, it was like what was laying in my subconscious was rising to the conscious, and I was like, I can't. So I just get high and keep running, mentally running from the shame and the pain and the memories and all of those things that are attached with using drugs,
Welcome back with On the Road to Recovery. We're here with Jason from Akron. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good today.
Thanks so much for coming out and joining us. If you could start off by talking about who you support that's in recovery.
Like my parent, I support my mom.
Okay. And how would you characterize your relationship with your mom and prior to her entering recovery?
It was distant, toxic. There would be times where there would be these old videos we would find on our phone, and you can just hear there's this one video of me and my sister. Am I going off topic?
Nope.
There's this one video of me and my sister playing around, and then we got a little too loud, and you could just hear my mom screaming in the background and stuff like that. She's a totally different person than who she is now.
Mm-hmm. And how did it make you feel when she was in that active addiction stage?
Uneasy. At the time, I didn't know she was in addiction. I just thought she was just mean in general.
Okay. So she did a pretty good job of hiding it from you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how long has your mom been in recovery for?
3 years, I think.
Okay. And how would you say that her active addiction affected the rest of your family?
We got put into our grandparents' care, and it stressed everyone. And for a while, me and my sister lived with our aunt for 6 months, and then we moved into our grandparents, and we lived with our grandparents for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Because around the time I was 8, I think, that's when my mom and my dad split, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Or I was 7 when they split, and I was living with my dad and and his girlfriend, and they both were in that. My dad's still in active addiction, and his girlfriend was an addict too at the time.
Sorry to hear that. So do you have much relationship with your dad at this point in time?
I try to. I just struggle with it. He was high when we went up there for my sister's 17th birthday, and he was passed out on his bed and stuff like that.
It's got to be tough.
He was passed out with his eyes open and stuff like that.
Oh wow, that's kind of scary to see too.
Yeah, I thought he was dead.
Yeah. So let's go back to your mom when she has tried to get help. Were you aware of what was going on, when she would try to get sober?
I remember her being in jail. That's when she started to sober up.
Okay.
I can't remember if she went to any rehab or Oriana houses or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it usually around the time where like we couldn't see her for a while, so there's been times where I haven't seen my mom for like months, and like randomly like she would call. Um, I was when I lived with my grandparents. I don't know how to tell this.
It's all good. You're doing great.
When I lived with my grandparents, they wasn't the best caretakers.
Okay.
They would like verbally abuse me and my sister.
Oh.
There's been times where there was like physical altercations with me and my grandpa.
Lots of people have these same experiences, and being able to know that they're not alone and that you've gotten through this, and you know that you have a different life today, and that you like how you have managed things. Being able to speak up and tell adults when there's something that's going on is really important. So let's talk a little bit about something else. So how did this kind of trauma and, you know, being able to see your mom sometimes, her not being able to see her, and having difficult, abusive relationship at your grandparents' house, how did that impact your relationships with your friends? How did that impact school for you?
There'd be times I had just started middle school whenever things got really, really bad. I was in 7th grade. There'd be days where I'd show up to school and I wouldn't go to my first period of class at the start. I would go in the bathroom and cry and stuff like that. And like, there's been times where like I would fake being sick at school just so I can go home because I was so stressed out and stuff like that. I used to only get like honor roll and stuff like that. Like I started to get like my grades were at the lowest I've ever been. I had like no motivation to do anything. I know my grandparents mean well. Like they just not meant to play a parent role at all.
That sounds like it's been very tough. And let's fast forward a little bit and talk a little bit about, so your mom's in recovery now. You said she's been in recovery for 3 years. You live with her now. What's life like for you today?
It's better. My grades are going back up. I started taking care of my body. I lost like 45 pounds, I think. I have lots of friends now. I go out with my friends. I spend the night at my friend's house. It wasn't like that when I lived with my grandparents. I was too embarrassed to invite friends over, and like nobody would want to be my friend at my old school when I lived with my grandparents. I would like never talk to anybody,
And so since you've been living with your mom, have you been able to get any type of like counseling help to be able to, okay?
I've been in counseling.
And how's that helped?
I got better with myself. I got to the point where I felt like I didn't need counseling anymore.
Excellent. That's great. Yeah, that's the nice part about counseling is you go through, you do the work, and then you don't need to go to counseling anymore. So that's fantastic. Can you talk a little bit about the relationship between you and your mom now? How is that?
We're a lot closer. It's a lot more healthier now. She's someone I can come to when I need help, or someone I can talk to. I can trust her.
Mm-hmm.
Our relationship and stuff like that is still healing from like the past.
Absolutely. It takes time to rebuild that trust. What are you doing so you don't go down that same path?
It's a lot of it involves like the people you hang around to. I distance myself from people who like do things at their age that they shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't smoke or anything. I don't ever see myself drinking.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't do anything like that. That's about the only thing, because once you it's like a chemical in your brain. Once you like open that like doorway or whatever it is, you want more
Mm-hmm.
of it.
Absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head of creating those friendships and doing things with people that you enjoy, because there's a whole lot of things to do that don't involve any of that. So, what advice do you have for somebody who's, a young teenager, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, that maybe is struggling with a family member who's in active addiction? What advice could you give that person?
Don't lose hope.
Don't lose hope.
That's a big part.
So how would you say that her sobriety has changed your life?
It definitely changed who I am too. I have people to talk to now. Whenever I'm not feeling the greatest, I can actually come to someone. I'm not bottling all my emotions up. I'm just in a whole better state of. I'm just in a whole better mood and everything.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you have a sense of peace that you didn't before?
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, thank you again so much for coming out to On the Road of Recovery and sharing your experience. Your story is definitely going to help somebody, that really to show, that they're not alone, that people do struggle with this, and it's not your fault. It's not your responsibility. And you being able to really change your life and being able to really find a different way of living. And it's quite a beautiful experience that you and your mom, quite a beautiful life that you guys have built together today. Thank you. How do you impart that on your children? Because I know you've been very open with your children.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've lived through, both you and unfortunately your ex-husband still being in active addiction. How do you talk with them about things, be able to impart the wisdom that you've gained so they don't have to go down the same path?
That's a cool question. I mean, it's a good one because it reminds me of the trauma and learning to work through the trauma when questions come up, or their past memories, because that's one of the hardest things, is navigating through past memories with them and not having the reaction that I used to have before because I couldn't cope with it.
Mm-hmm.
So things will come up, they'll say things, and they will hurt. I mean, they hurt, and I'll feel it in my body. And the first thing I want to do is I want to clamp down. I want to control the situation. I want to change the subject, deflect, distract, whatever old skills I used to have. And now it's different now. So I still have those reactions, but the way I talk to myself in my head is differently. So it's almost like a step down system.
Mm-hmm.
Identifying, okay, my body is tense. This hurts my heart. You know what I mean? But really, in all reality, I don't live there anymore. I don't live there.
Mm-hmm.
That's not who I am. It's something that I did, why I was under the influence, of my disease. And it's okay to feel that moment. It's okay to cry. It's okay to express to my kids that I truly am beyond more than just sorry. And sorry isn't even the word that I could find to express what it is that I feel in my heart.